I call this meeting to order.
And we're gonna follow the script here now, so we do, currently we call the quorum. 10 members makes a quorum, so it doesn't appear that we'll have a quorum. We haven't had it for a while, so we don't, it's not necessary again to approve the agenda because, again, we don't have quorum. Now, we do have an agenda though, so I would like to, if there are no changes to the agenda, I will just move ahead. Beyond, is there any changes to the agenda? Any proposed changes? Not? All right. Hold on. All right, now here, just want to make sure, here's the time that we would ask if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak. We have no one sign up. We don't have a formal sign up for this as we do at the council, but I don't see anybody, and if there's nobody else, we will move on with the agenda. And again, we can approve the minutes, and so, all right, hold on. Now, who have reports from subcommittees and who?
We don't have, so we wanted to discuss the end of the year report with you guys and how you guys will conduct that. So that's up to you guys to have a conversation on how do you guys plan on putting the end of the year report together for the EAC. I did include a list of presentations that you guys can take a look at to see, like, you know, maybe some high points and highlights that you guys may want to put together. And then I also did put together this end of the year, me and Lila put together this end of the year discussion to help guide you into writing that report as well.
Yes, I'm lost here. So we have subcommittee reports. We have any leaders in the subcommittees? And I guess don't recall having these reports.
So it is just gonna be an end of the year wrap up report for the whole year for EAC.
No, I'm just saying on number 5.
So there's no subcommittee meetings at the moment.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I need to know.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right. All right, now,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
maybe I can kind of lighten things up here.
Yeah.
And just want to let everybody know, I apologize for not wearing any of my fabulous braids today. And my sporty hats. And that can be partly blamed on Tori.
What?
And everybody's saying, want to know why Tori.
Because I made a mistake and set it up as a team's meeting, but I corrected that. It was a mistake.
You know, when you get barber appointments, you can't be changed in the meetings, you know. No, I'm just kidding.
I like the fro though, so
Just kidding, just kidding.
it was
That's
a
all
nice
right.
change up.
All right, let's go to, I'm trying to follow here. Now I'm on page 3 and there's an icebreaker, and is that what?
Yeah, so we were gonna do an icebreaker, but we're gonna move past that. We're gonna save that for the beginning of the year, so we can have more participation from the committee. And we can go ahead and move to the second agenda item. So the small group discussion,
Okay,
which we already in the small group, so.
right, I know, we're not breaking up anywhere,
We don't need to break up. But yeah, so we can go ahead and move to the small group discussion. Again, this small group discussion is a wrap up and guiding into 2024. So a wrap up of 2023 and then guiding into 2024. I don't have the clicker.
Oh.
I'm not sure where it's at.
Greg, do you have a clicker?
So just the,
He'll be here.
I think he's coming with the clicker.
There he is. You are so good.
Thank you. So yeah, so the conversation is just a couple group discussion questions that'll help us possibly form that end of the year report and just also do a recap for 2023 as well. All right, so let's get into it. Again, I didn't introduce myself, but I'm Tori Hampton, and I'm a part of the OEO department and Met Council. And so we have the first question. So, they are gonna pop up. We can just go through them. How has your understanding of equity evolved throughout the year?
Well, Okay, I'd say that this year, and in conjunction with the council and its committee, I have observed that our quest for equity, or equity, I should say, is not a final destination. It is an ongoing journey that we're all on together. Impactful presentations, or, well, I'll hold for
Yes.
others.
I understand it better, and I think with the process of writing a definition for it, brought a lot of clarity to it, and it helped focus my thoughts with the reports and things like that we're receiving. So I would always refer back to our general kind of definition of equity and then study those things. So I agree with Toni, it's a journey, but it is one that's focused now than it was the first time I was in.
And I would say that where it has changed or what throughout the year is having, coming to the part of responsibility for taking on this role as co-chair and trying to understand where equity fits across the system is difficult. I mean, I think my history has more been focused on one aspect of equity for an organization, not covering sewers and water and transportation and as a council member, we get these reports and often I could see where equity played a role, but it was never all put together into one kind of reporting metric system or alike. And this last couple of reports that we've had, both from Shante and Sai, kind of got me a little bit more focused on how we take the next steps.
Yeah.
And then I think what we're missing is the advisory members and getting some input. Otherwise, we kind of like talk to each other. And every now and then you like to hear something outside your own echo chamber, if you will. And so when we're talking about not having quorum and therefore you can't approve the minutes and you can't get into this stuff, and that's infrastructure things, and as I reported before, that I've talked to leadership about restructuring, so either we don't go to 25, maybe 11 or 9 or whatever, and then have other committees or decide on projects that we could take on or something, but we need to have a better system for that, and I think I've talked to Sai about it as well, and Charlie's was agreeing. We sent it to legal and said, do we have the authority? You know, and it's not established by the legislatures, it's really our advisory. So we will be looking at that as well. So my understanding is more evolving as well. And in most, as far as presentations, I think we get them. I think the difficulty is that we meet once a month, and if you either miss one meeting, it's kind of like you're way behind. Because by the time you go to the next meeting, you have a separate presentation with a lot of metrics, a lot of things discussed in it. It doesn't tie in, if you will. I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
The only other thing I'd add is that it is really at the forefront of all conversations that come here. And then the council itself generally, viewed from the outside looking in, it is at the forefront of thoughts and processes, and I don't know if that was the case before, I came on board, but it clearly is something that is very consciously looked at and discussed and infused into what the council's doing overall. And I appreciate that. I mean, we may not have it exactly right, but everybody's on the page in knowing that it's an important thing and that it has to be intrinsic in the operations of the council. For the year, I think that is what gave rise to the work that we're doing and what they're doing inside. Now, the other thing I'm still confused about, because internally there are equity committees and they're doing things, you can't argue against that, but how does that all connect, across, what we're doing, what they're doing, and how does it all connect is something I think going forward we may need to seriously look at is some type of connectivity, and maybe it comes through what you're saying. We, less members here and then inviting some more internal people to be a part of this group or at this table.
Even our reports, I'm kind of informal, so I don't go, but even in our reports, for me, I needed to have a regular presentation here. And I'm reacting more when I see an agenda item and even look at bringing forward things that I see at the full council meetings. So that's one thing I need to look at over the next year of what is necessary for me to bring forward and what would be most impactful. I think that's true other council members. We have 4 council members on here.
Yeah.
So it's, what do we do and how, then, it's an exchange is what, you see and what we see and then how is that all aligned. The other thing I'll tell you is that from a council standpoint, that there's a lot of support for what we're doing. There's a lot of support for the Equity Advisory Committee. And when we do get reports, even if they're a segment of, even if it's purchasing or procurement or whatever, we do get great comments from our colleagues. Toni, would you say similar as far as the our other colleagues?
And thank you for the opening. Again, I'm here just this year, so I haven't heard a whole lot of the past conversation. You heard a half year more than me, I think, right, on this topic. I would say there is great support for the work of engaging with council members and community members around our equity agenda. It seems to me, though, that there is not necessarily a recognition of the work of the equity committee. As topics come forward, I don't know that I've felt them coming from the equity committee or any engagement between the council and the equity committee that is going on. And I missed a meeting or two, but if there is that ongoing back and forth of a conversation between this group and the Metropolitan Council itself, I have missed it, and I have missed it.
Yeah, we were literally just talking about that.
And both of those definitions.
Yeah,
Well, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, early on, we put a work plan together. And which we were asked to do, and it was required, and that was around the same time we were developing the equity definition and how
Around
that.
the same time I was about to come in.
Right. And a lot of that focused around the big substantive things did get addressed before this group.
Yeah.
The housing piece was one. I should say this first, there was some pushback with that. Because we had in there, we wanted a foundational look at things in the Met Council through a review or an audit of affirmative action, contracting, fair housing. We wanted to kind of take a look at that because for some reason in our smaller work groups, we had what we call an operations committee, that subcommittee that met. And in that group, we were saying, these are the kind of tangible things that the community would be very interested in. Opportunities to work for the Met Council through contracting or employment. Housing, just a big issue, affordable housing, and what are we doing? Does livable communities really address what the needs are right now? And there was concerns, the need for affordable home ownership, for example, and the big disparities in home ownership. So we kind of, when we put our work plan together in our subcommittees, it was around that. And we all agreed that the first request would be a review of those things so that we knew where things stood. I think internally people took that as an affront, an affront to, I don't know what, but we got big pushback. We had asked for the director to come to the committee and she wouldn't do that and would only allow a couple of us to meet with a newly hired deputy person who had just come in from Florida that didn't know the lay of the land and had only been here for like a couple of weeks. And so we just kind of said, okay, this is not a comfort area for them. We'll just step back and then we'll request the information be brought to us before the committee. And I see on this list, that all did happen. I thought the things that were really impactful for me was the regional framework, 2050, that development guide, the DBE information, the affirmative action dashboard that was established, the the workforce data, council workforce data, the affirmative action plan, how that was developed and how that was moving forward. And then the stuff that Dr. Myers did most recently was really insightful in setting utilization goals. That got at, I think, the core of our work plan. Those things, it happened over 12 months, but at least we got to have conversation around that throughout the year. And we've seen improvement. I mean, we've seen, incredible improvement in each one of those areas.
That's very helpful for me to
Yeah.
hear you say. I am missing, and I'm glad that you heard me say that and responded as to what the beginning looked like, what the middle looked like, and what you see has happened in the progress of the committee through the year. Because it sounds like you did the work plan, we did the work plan, I'm here with you now.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there has been some iterative process between this team and the council, both by way of a request that was made here and responses with information from the council. And I would say that's good. That feels like a startup.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that this was a startup committee.
Yeah.
And so it's a little confusing to me that is where we are today. I'm looking for a stride,
Yeah.
I am really looking for a conversation to occur between the council and this equity advisory committee. That sounds something like, this is where we are today, and I think we can check that. These are some places that we have issues and goals, and I think RDG discussions are getting us there. And this is the help we need, And then a response from us in developing a work plan that says, this is how we can help,
Yeah.
And really being able to then dig into understanding still the major efforts that are happening here, providing some response with respect to those efforts and how we think they could be enhanced, perhaps. And then really having our work plan this year, looking forward to that 2024 plan. And again, I think I missed the meeting before the last when you guys were talking about that, right? But really looking forward to how we contribute to ensure that we provide equity perspectives from the committee that help in the short term and the longer term for the 2024 plan. So I'm asking a lot, I realize that. You know, we're only here once a month. But I think if we know what questions we are asking or being asked, you know, then we can figure out how through the year to respond to those questions, to provide the help, to provide, you know, the reactions to things that are brought to us, but proactively. So we know this is coming, we know it's coming about now, you know, and so we're gonna plan for it. So that when we get there, we're able to take it in and provide some response. And maybe hear even a reaction from staff or the council. However, we plot that out together with staff and the council. So I'm asking for a lot, but I think that a part of what we may need for the quorum that we want to have here is a real active process of work. You know, that we know is coming and that we know we need to be prepared for, we need to be here for. You know, we need to dig in to, and I'm not sure that that isn't tough. I know that that is a tough process of development. You know, it's going to take some work from us, from council, from staff. But I think it's the kind of engagement that can help us to dig in, to know the contribution that we're making, and to have it valued, and our time be valued as well by all of us. So,
Well, these things are driven by us, which, you know, that are listed on here, most of these things. I think maybe except for the youth, a group that came in. But these were sort of things that proactively we're looking at. Now, I would say when I first came on, there was a need to just really organize the equity committee itself.
yeah.
It didn't have a focus, and I thought that Francisco did a very good job, you know, basically saying we need to take a look at the bylaws. We need to structure subcommittees, working groups that we can put people into that can work in between our monthly meetings focusing on, and then we got staff, and then staff came on. But I also haven't worked inside these systems. I think things like affirmative action, equity, you know, equal opportunity, they have a certain kind of tension that shouldn't be there, right? For me, I just say, well, you know, that's the law is part of the process. You should be embracing and applying it. But we're also breaking down cultural traditions that are built around relationships. And it's a hard thing for people to relinquish that. A real side story real quick. I remember being asked to serve as the affirmative action director for the city of St. Paul. And the city of St. Paul in 2000 had a affirmative action office and a human resources office, which is kind of weird for me in all of my study and training, everything at work, because they were constantly clashing, and that was the history of those. And there was a stereotypical thing where human resource people would come over and ask affirmative action people, well, we need to do an affirmative action hire. Can you help us find that person? You know, it's like, well, the person is as qualified as anybody else, regardless. But in order to deal with that tension, when I came on, worked with the mayor and said, look, why don't we make the affirmative action policies intrinsic to the work of each of the HR personnel, so that we don't have to have this office here, because people are viewing that as something that is separate from what they're supposed to be doing. And we took them all through training, 36 employees. They got themselves organized, and so from the outreach to selection, you know, the whole process, there were the rules being applied. And that kind of changed the culture, and it became intrinsic to the operations. I detect a little bit of that kind of in, you know, sitting here and observing The Met Council, you know, and I'm not a director from either side, but, I think OEEO really helps get our message and our intentions infused in the conversations internally. And I can see as we got more focused and we're really kind of pushing on the equity things, I could see where the folks coming to us were better prepared to present a plan that really kind of demonstrated how they were being equitable. And you know, some of it might be wrong and we would offer up some suggestions and it created a little bit of tension, but at the same time, it was happening and I saw that increase and got smoother and smoother as the year went on. So, I mean, just go back to the top, I just think that I understand equity definition within the Met Council better. And I think that it's being embraced and pretty much permeate everything that's happening with the Met Council this year, and that's a big achievement.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it's definitely been a journey. But when I came on board, my definition of equity was just one-dimensional. And now it has become multifaceted and just evolving, and I'm excited. I know you have to get out of here, right?
Oh, you do. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
he's got to leave.
Actually, my daughter's singing in this Christmas,
Oh, man.
so I'd be there.
So you should have been the first one in the audience.
Yes, yes. So,
Let me
go
tell
ahead.
you, you know, that,
Front seat.
and don't be
I don't
late.
know if Vanessa was done.
No, go ahead.
Okay, before you leave.
Yeah.
I am really trying, I guess what I'm saying is we've done a lot. You know, if I look at this, we've heard a lot. We've been able to discuss a varied set of work across the entire Metropolitan Council. I think that's good. I think it's foundational. You know, I don't intend to complain about where we are. I was just a little confused, you know, because I wasn't sure of what the work was, what the work is. You've explained, and I better understand. I came in the middle of the year, so I'm a little confused. I would love to see us focus somehow next year on an agenda that allows us to turn some things around, you know, to really make an obvious set of work happen. And I think what I'm thinking about is, you know, we've got some guidance and direction that we need to provide. We have some wisdom, you know, in this circle. And how can we best provide that? You know, how can we best understand where the help is needed, you know? Now that we've got this background and we know what's going on, what are the most essential things that we can do as a committee this coming year to make the necessary contribution, to make the difference contribution? You know, I don't know if it's in guidance for community engagement, if it's in the regional development guide and looking at and providing feedback on some scheduled basis. I'm not sure. I think we need some help from staff and from the council, you know, to consider that question and to present to us perhaps some alternatives that we can then discuss and determine how to build a plan this year that ends up with something going back that we really want to see happen. The council really wants to see happen. The staff can really appreciate as well. I don't know what that is. I've got more questions than answers, but I'd like to see us focused in that way this year so that when we come to meetings, we know what we're doing, we know why, we know what it's going to result in. You know, we may not change the whole world, don't get me wrong, I don't think we will, but what can we do that provides a substantial contribution so that as we're working toward, as we're on that equity journey, you know, we see some things that happen because of our feedback, because of our input, because, you know, of the need for us to provide that input this year.
I love that.
I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I hope it's not just you know, how to engage the community. I mean, because the employees are the community, and that shouldn't be like a huge leap for anybody that's an employee if you want to. But, you know, the Met Council is set to ensure equitable distribution of resources that came into the region. And so if you don't want to move too far from that, because when I think about resources and the equitable distribution of those resources across cities and in the city, residents and other folks, you want to make sure that everybody have access and opportunity to benefit from those resources that come into the region. And I think that's why we focused on employment opportunity, contracting opportunities, all housing opportunities, where that money was flowing. That's billions of dollars. And if that equity or equal access and opportunity is being realized, then you don't have, in theory, the socioeconomic disparities that exist. So it can't be just, this is how you go and outreach to the community. I think we would be, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't do some of that and advise people, but that's.
And I wouldn't think that it would be just anything.
Okay.
You're right. It has to be substantial.
It has to be.
It has to be, you know, it could be about strategies.
Yeah.
You know, the discussion of strategies. And I don't believe that community engagement is an easy thing. Let me just say that. But that's one strategy that we need to talk about. That's a set of strategies we need to talk about. You know, strategies for ensuring the equitable distribution of resources. Makes sense. But
That leads
I
into
just
the next
want
question,
I just
too.
want to make sure that we can respond to something.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up that
Well,
leads us into the next question too, about community development. So that's a great point that you guys brought up.
well, one of the things I think, even as the council members, the four of us that are here, we started looking at what our role is and what the plan is. And so I did see what Ed referred to was that people were preparing to make a presentation here. And they were challenged early, and when they came, they were ready to also come back.
Yeah.
And say, you know, you've raised this here and here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of instances directly that they would talk to me after.
Yeah,
we
I was
weren't
here
sure
for
what to
that.
expect. Yeah, we don't really sure what to expect, but we'll be ready.
I like that.
And so that's, you know, they were asking me, you know, what can we do different? I said, what did you hear? Kind of, you know, of what did you hear while you were here? And then when they come back, or let us know. And I think we need to do a better job of having the other departments understand our role and what to expect from us. And even this equity task force, I wasn't sure how they fit with what we were doing.
Yeah.
And still need to get a better handle on that myself. And so.
Seems like there ought to be a connection, you know?
And the other thing I think that when we start looking at what we want to do, we really need to define our calendar. Because sometimes by the time they ask us, it's already included in the Guide 2040 plan, or it's, you know, they've drafted it without us. You know,
Yeah.
and so I think that we need to understand when those things are, there's a cycle to them, or what's expected from others, because that will also drive what our strategy is.
Right.
Lila, do you want to add anything here? You're
I'm nodding.
listening.
Chair, co-chair, committee. Yes, we are actually brainstorming right now how to be on top of that. We're going to be gathering as much information on agendas as early as possible, as soon as it's released, so that we can help guide kind of the agenda for the year here as well. And so, yes, we agree. It's just a matter of figuring out, you know, what's happening and then redirecting folks to the EAC, which is what we've been having. It's good to hear the feedback, because internally we've been directing folks to the EAC as we hear presentations and just different bodies of work. We've been asking folks to come to the EAC. Naomi Shakir, who was formerly in our unit, who you know, helped lead the EAC. She was very, very good at prepping folks and she's watching tonight as well. So just prepping folks and having them come and, you know, always redirecting here, so.
Thank you, Naya.
And we'll,
Yeah.
we hope to do more of that in 2024.
I apologize, but to run, is there any questions anybody have for me before you take over?
Go watch your little girl sing.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, go ahead and watch her sing.
I know.
Makes sense.
She's gonna do a
Be
great
up
job.
front. Thank you.
Be safe. Alright, so I think we can.
La 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 la.
I think we can transition into the third question. We kind of hit on the second question. Unless anybody else wanna go ahead and say anything to the impactful presentations or discussions on equity. But if not, we can go ahead and move into the third question. How can we better engage and involve your community in our equity efforts? In addition, who is missing from the table?
I always thought moving these meetings out in different geographic locations wouldn't be a bad idea. Visit some neighborhoods, set it up, market it, it's coming. Have people come out, still have our agenda and conduct our business.
Right.
But be very intentional about letting people know that they can come and present. Maybe we give it more than 5 minutes when you're out there, but I think people would be very interested in that. Maybe we should do a little bit of that next time around. If we're gonna have 12 meetings, maybe we say we're gonna have 4 out in the community. In St. Paul, Minneapolis, first ring, second ring suburban communities, and then invite people in to just speak to the group.
I think that's excellent. That we should think about doing that, and that it should be linked with the work that's moving forward.
Yes.
We know that the Metropolitan Council needs to do that community engagement around the regional development guide. And, I'm not sure what that schedule looks like. I know that there'll be a draft of the guide released in the first quarter, end of the first quarter, beginning of the second. But I'm thinking that to do a collaboration, with that engagement would make sense.
Yeah.
And that as the equity committee, because we know a major agenda for the Metropolitan Council, interwoven into all of the planned work is equity.
Mm-hmm.
That we would, I think, be great sponsors for that presentation, or for a presentation of the Regional Development Guide, a series maybe, in process through the year. Now, that's just me, that's just me thinking that.
No, that makes
But
sense.
I would really want to tee that question up to find out if there is a place of collaboration inside all of the work that is happening on the Regional Development Guide, in the equity plan work that's happening with the Equity Task Force, that could welcome them as an opportunity.
I agree, and I really like that idea of just getting out in the community. I know I've had people say, well, what is the Met Council? What do they do? And what do you mean? So to be at a school, a rec center, or a church, a synagogue, a mosque,
Yeah.
and have meetings there and let people know that, it's just not some ivory tower, making decisions and, deal with it.
That's right.
But no, your opinion and your ideas are welcome and warranted, so I think that's really good. And, like you said, 3, 4 out of the 12,
Yeah.
you
I think that would be really a giant step, because there was one phase in our meetings last year where there was some tension that was coming from the community. I'm not sure, I don't remember exactly what it was, but people were complaining that they didn't get a chance to go before the Met Council itself to speak. And why are the meetings always downtown, and they don't put enough time on there for you to show up to the meetings. And I just remember hearing a lot of that chatter. And but it was also an indication that people were watching a little bit closer. And the equity stuff that we were discussing, and I know a lot of people watch this. You'd be surprised how many people engage this either during or after because I run across people and go, why were you wearing that hat at that meeting? No, I'm just they'll be talking about this fro next. It's my strategy to make sure I know they're watching. But yeah, so yeah, getting out there, people know it. They know it, through the, the transportation stuff. That's a big part of it. And when there's controversy,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
is it gonna go down Broadway or, those kind of things. But yeah, we're very intentional about being out there. I think people would respond and come, as long as we're willing to let them be community and come as they are, in the form that they are, and speak the way they speak,
And maybe it's in neighborhoods,
It is neighborhoods, yeah.
along with the council members who represent that neighborhood and the committee members who represent
perfect.
those areas.
I love you guys in recruitment. We'll talk about that next.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
So
could
we're
be-
ready for you.
Exactly.
I want you guys to be fully into this whole recruitment effort that we're doing as well. So addition to the question, who is missing from the table? Who can you think of that maybe somebody in your backyard that you can bring to the table, or somebody up higher up, or from another community representation? Who do you guys think is missing from the table within this discussion, not just today, but in overall when it comes to equity?
Definitely young people. Young people, just thinking about the young leaders, regional vision, when those young people came and they were just so engaged and they were, it's like, wow, okay, because they're gonna be the ones that live in that future, and so for them to have that voice and to be a part of it, so we gotta figure out a way to get them to the table, yeah.
Maybe not at 6 to 8 o'clock, huh?
Yeah.
Not after school.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a good group, elderly
Yes.
and disabled.
Mm-hmm.
And we do need to make sure that we have good race and ethnic representation, And I think we've done a pretty good job of that, but I'm not sure. I mean, I know they're not here now.
Not today.
But it was funny because people, early on, a lot of people were coming. But when that little bit of tension started, we got that little bit of pushback about, no, we're not gonna get the director. The lawyers don't wanna do that, I think people, just kind of felt like, well, maybe we're just window dressing. And then sometimes you have to make yourself not be window dressing and stay engaged, but there are people that, I used to have conversations with some of the council members, and they were like, well, I don't wanna get any controversy, so we might go for a contract. Or they're thinking, or for employment, and if I'm seen as being a part of some adversarial group, then my chances get minimized. I can think of 3 people that were on here that felt that way. And I understand that it shouldn't be that way, but when these are not welcoming places, when the questions are tough, it scares people to be in there, because a lot of people don't want to, get caught up in, being blacklisted or something because they were on the wrong side of the discussion. They're on the wrong side of the discussion. They may not even been in the discussion, just sitting at the table. And we have to be conscious of that. This is, it's a big body, and it can be consequential for certain people, for everybody. And so when Margie Bogey didn't want to come, that sends a real chilling message to a lot of people. Or when you don't want to disclose the affirmative action hiring data, that says a lot to certain people. Or when it was really hard to get the contracting data. And then, Cy kind of, stepped in and said, look, we're trying to create a dashboard so that we can present this in the right kind of way. And so then it became a little bit easier to understand that it wasn't something that was readily available to pull together, that it was very, task-oriented to get that and try to pull it together within 30 days to present for committee. And then they created the dashboard, which I should put on here as one of the real big key things, that dashboard, because then the reporting was really good. And we could measure things, and then we could go back in the communities and say, hey, you need to get in there and start responding to those RFPs and those bids and get your bids in. And when Asante came and reported towards the end of the year that they had exceeded the utilization goal, and like by 4 percentage points, you couldn't help but to be happy about that, because I know people that were out getting folks over to try and bid and participate as subcontractors on projects and stuff like that. So, and he was happy too, he was very happy about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing that has certainly been achieved with those who have remained at the table is that we can say we not only have heard and understood aspects of equity in process at the Metropolitan Council, but that we support the work that is being done. We, I think, should have a goal of being cheerleaders and supporters and connectors, to all of this work. And it feels to me as though through the struggle of the year, all of the work that has come forward in response, although it may not have been ready immediately, it's been prepared. Like you said, the dashboard is one thing. But we now have a way to interact with the system, around our needs for helping to assess and suggest even and help with equity efforts. And we can build on that. I think it's really good to know that the council has been responsive, the staff and the council policy governance as well, in giving us what we felt we needed. And will continue to be responsive in that way. And has a really good understanding now. But being a cheerleader and being able to connect, I think is a really big thing. We should probably put those in policy words. But I think it's a really big deal.
All right.
I suppose there's kind of a fear, if you're a staff person, you're gonna go before the equity committee, and things are not quite aligned, right? And you have to present it and you are not sure, like, man, am I really making the mark here? And now I gotta go sit in front of these people and they're gonna look at me as somebody who's a hater, when in actuality, I'm not that, because that's just not the cultural operations of the place. But the ones who did come before us and got their dose of whatever we dosed on them, when they return and were able to demonstrate some accomplishments, you can see they took a lot of pride in that. And there were some who came that wanted to learn, how can I do this better? And we dosed whatever we dosed on them, and they left, and you hear indirectly that things are turning in that direction. And so I see all those as accomplishments. When I got here, I didn't come to this thinking that the Met Council was clicking on all of the the right buttons when it comes to equity. Otherwise we wouldn't have been doing it, right? It's like, we're gonna establish an equity committee. You establish equity committees and you do equity and you define it because it's not being done. Or at least if it is being done, you don't understand if it's intentional or not. And so I understood that coming in. So you sort of push and you push and you push and you push based on you know, your idea of that as defined, I mean, you know, it got defined clear. And, you know, like I said before, you know, I guess the sum of it all is, we really don't have to be ashamed of any of the work that's being done here, and I think Toni is right. If we go back and look at these presentations, even if all of these were repeated and doubled up every time next year, you're gonna make progress toward it. But it would be nice to put this in some kind of doable plan that, so we all know and are being very intentional about what we're focusing on and how we wanna move that. And if it's narrowing the focus so that it's a couple things that are being achieved, then that's fine too. It takes a lot to move a big ship like this and turn it. But you know, from where I'm sitting and watching it from outside, and then the little work that we're doing here, it is turning. It's turning for the better. It is a conversation piece in the circles I run in. And people not only look at it as a problem, they see it as an opportunity now. There's some opportunity there. People know people inside the Met Council. The other day we got, I think from Tori or somebody, about reading proposals for the parks. You know, and I was like, okay, oh, so the parks is reaching out to the broader equity group now, you know, to do that. And so they're inviting us in to participate even in that sense. And that's, those are real tangible things that may not have been there in the past.
I just want to say, and I agree, like you said, you can feel that shift and how things are turning, because in all honesty and being totally transparent, initially, this committee was disrespectful, it was belligerent, it was cantankerous, and people were just, you know, afraid to even, and rightly so. I mean, I would never have wanted to you know, people prepared, you know, their reports and so forth, and it's like they just got raked over the coals, and that wasn't fair, you know. And now I think the culture, you know, the paradigm has shifted where, you know, let's at least hear them out and be respectable and you know, say what it is that we have to say, you know, and learn and grow together, and not just be like, oh, well, how you not doing this and that and so forth. And I think that has shifted, and I think that's really going to help us move forward as well.
But I will, in defense of the committee, it was the truth, though. They were speaking the truth. I'm not, you know, it might have looked that way, but some of the stuff that was coming before was like, really? Seriously? And you're using our money and this is the best you can do, you know? No, I mean, and when you represent a constituency that is hurting and just want that opportunity and fairness, you know, your advocacy can be strong. It's not meant to offend. I remember being here and I used to say things like, you know, I'm just telling you this, but I don't want anybody to know that I'm doing this and offending anybody. You know, I apologize if I offend anybody, but that's not my intention. My intention is to just lay it on the line and let the chips fall where they may. And others would do the same thing. We're being apologetic while at the same time we're providing what I think was advice that align things the best possible way.
Yeah, and just the last question that we have, we kind of hit on it a lot already, but if there are any specific recommendations or actions you would like to propose based on what we have learned about equity this year, then you can go ahead and do so now.
You know, one of the things that I would love to see is that work plan we put together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be willing to work with somebody, probably get Leah, Brianna, is that her name? Brianna? Anita rather, and a few of us that, you know, were in the committees, maybe even invite Francisco back and just take a look at that work plan and list accomplishments that we saw that were achieved as a result of our work plan. Because that would be a fair evaluation, because most of us at the table were working off of that work plan. Even though the subcommittees didn't meet anymore, it was still, you know, our offline conversations where we stayed focused on the work plan and moving forward. And there were good accomplishments. You know, quite frankly, you know, the new affirmative action plan, which was updated, you know, calling that into question, you know, early on, it got, you know, a 22, 24 plan in place. And you know, that the data, that reports that came with that too. But those are things that are in our work plan. We need to just pull it back and see if we can list some bullet point kind of accomplishments with that, whatever it might have been.
That's a good suggestion. Madam Chair, anybody else? I know we already listed a lot of things within the conversation. It's been a great conversation so far, so I'm taking it all in.
Yeah, you know, while I very much appreciate all that's been done this year, and agree that there are essential presentations that need to come before us on some an ongoing basis, you know, some a one-time basis, whatever that may be. I would love to make sure to, in this specific recommendations area, ask for some questions from council, from staff.
Yeah.
As to what would be most impactful, you know, as maybe
I agree.
a project or a thread or a theme for the work next year. Is there a way, is there a framework that we can establish? You know, in addition to seeing the presentation so that we can scrutinize strategies and understand what is being done, you know, is there something that can propel us through the year? You know, I don't think we'll continue to need to lay as much groundwork this year as we laid already. But I'd like to propel us, you know, from that position of observation to partnership, you know, in whatever way we can craft with our council to understand what challenge we're taking on together. So I'd ask that, you know, of staff and us, a fuller committee, hopefully, to consider what we hear back. And I would expect that there won't be a, you do this, you know, that's not what I'm looking for. But, you know, these are some things we're struggling with. There are probably a few things in every area that could use some discussion, that could use some community feedback and consideration together here at the table with community and council members, and some, you know, some presentation back, even. Yeah. So I'd ask for that.
All right, so before we move on to the next part of the agenda, any more comments or questions that we may have within these 4 areas? I might ask a couple of these questions and put them just in email for those that wasn't able to comment on some of these questions, and put it in a small survey for you guys, just because we have so many people missing today. Just so that we can get some more feedback from you guys, and more people can, because it's the holiday, we understand people have holiday festivities, and you know, it's also sick season as well, so we understand. But we're gonna go ahead and move on. I'll let Madam Chair take lead.
EAC Recruitment, led by OEEO staff.
This presentation I put together, I'm not too good with the animations.
One more.
One more animation. Maybe I moved too fast. So we're gonna go into recruitment next. I see you guys didn't grab the documents up here. It's okay. We got time to pass it around.
Thank you.
It's okay. I was a teacher for a couple years,
Thank you.
as long as I could last in that field. And I don't know if y'all may want some back there, just to follow along. Thank you.
When is my term up?
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. So the term is, so a lot of you guys' term is up in 2024.
At the
So
end or
I-
the beginning?
Depending on when you start, we're gonna say the end of 2024 because we need you guys. No, but I also sent you all invitation for interview, not interview, but for a small discussion,
Okay.
one-on-one conversation, so that we can go over all of those details personally.
Oh,
To your
okay.
experience here at the council and with the EAC, so we can get some more feedback from you all. So that's, I'll send out another reminder, just so that we can get some more people to conduct those. And then I'll talk to you after this, Ms. Toni. All right, so we can go into the Equity Advisory Committee opportunity, the recruitment. So from you guys, we're really looking for feedback on how we can engage within your communities for recruitment, and also any recommendations that you guys may have for recruitment when it comes to EAC. So the ending date is January 31st that you can apply for this position, and we currently have some spaces open. I believe we have 5 at large, and then we have 3 precinct locations. I have those here. I'll pull them up right fast and just say them out loud. District E, I believe is open. District C. We're gonna make sure that we check these again, but District C, District E, and District B. And then we also have 5 at-large positions as well that's open. So in total, we have 8 positions. But we're gonna check those precinct locations, just to make sure that they're correct, because we did have some changes this year when it comes to those.
So,
Chair, can I, just to follow up on that, so due to redistricting, the districts slightly changed, and we need to verify the geographic locations, just to make sure that those are the right, corresponding letters.
Yeah, but for sure, the 5 seats for at-large are open. And we have 3 precinct locations that's open as well. We'll get that to you guys.
And January 31st is the priority date. What does that mean?
So that's the date that we're closing applications, correct, Lila?
Yeah, that's the date we would like to receive all applications
Right.
by, and then we would do interviews after that.
Okay, I think it should say the closing. I think it needs to say deadline or something,
Okay, we can change that.
if in fact it is,
Yeah,
unless you're considering something different.
Because priority date,
priority date, yeah.
priority date sounds like there's another date behind that. Like it might be,
yeah, but that is the language that our, I think they use for like the committees. What will generally happen is we will take in all applications that come through, we'll go through an interview process.
And we'll see what you
And
got.
then we'll see what we have, yeah, and then, if there are still seats remaining open at that time, we would continue to interview folks to bring them in.
I understand it in that context.
Yeah.
And in fact, appreciate it, because then we can tell people, try to get your application in by that day. And if you're still interested beyond that date, we can tell them, okay, get your application in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
we're gonna continue to need to fill openings even during the year. And so if people are interested, they can apply for a geographic seat, or they can apply for an at-large seat at any time during the year? And will we hold their applications?
Yeah, so we hold applications.
What district am I?
Whenever we have openings,
My F or something.
we reach out and.
So you do hold on to those
We do.
applications?
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is gonna be online. They can click in, use the tool to find out what district they live in, and they can apply right there.
Yes.
and it's 2 years, 1 year,
Yeah, what's it?
the term.
So the term is 2 years at the
2 years.
moment.
Should we say?
But it was remember it was 4 years
It's
before
4
that.
That's right, we modified the
Yeah, we
bylaws for
did.
2 years.
Yeah, there's,
So
it hasn't been approved
It
yet.
hasn't been approved yet, but it is
Oh, I
4
see.
years.
So it's still 4 years, but
Okay.
the modification that we're pushing for is 2 years.
And when will that come before the council?
Lila?
We don't have a date yet, it is still in review.
So when are you gonna get this out without?
Oh, this is,
Oh,
this is being sent out
Okay.
immediately.
Alright.
Yeah.
So whatever information is new, you'll add.
Yep, exactly, yeah. And
So
this is,
go ahead, I'm sorry, no, go.
I was gonna say, this is the flyer we're sending out now.
Okay.
We're sharing with the committee to ask for your assistance
Great.
and sending it out to folks.
So as of
Right.
right now, we tell people 4 years.
It is for
Exactly.
yes.
Alright.
So this will be a link that we can send to people then? You'll send us the link and we can send it out?
Yes, there'll be an email that we'll send out and then you can, take that and forward it on.
And we're also
great.
doing some things with social media around this too.
Oh, okay.
And then we're also doing, I wouldn't call it door knocking, but community knocking, where we're gonna go to those areas that we don't have people in. We're gonna make sure that we touch some of those locations and give them the on hand.
Yeah.
So those 3 precinct locations that we really, really, really need to get people in. We're gonna be very precise at, figuring out what community centers are in their location and everything, so that we can make sure we market to the right community as well.
Madam Chair, I want to apologize for just jumping in all the time.
Yes,
I
me
do have a
too.
question. And this will have a link then to the Equity Advisory Committee as well, so that whoever we send this to, they can click in and get the information that they need.
That's the first thing I had.
And the meetings,
I love that.
And when
minutes
did we
and the whole
start?
bit.
Yes.
So they're selected.
I think it does because I tried it,
You did.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
goes right to the website, Equity Advisory Committee website.
Okay.
Correct, chair and committee, yes, it will go directly to the EAC webpage. We are actually in the process of changing where the application link is so that it's easy to find, it's easy to follow, rather than 2 to 3 steps to get to the application, it's just 1 click and you get there. So yes, it'll
Yeah.
bring folks there.
And then we also added a little bit of what you requested, Co-Chair Vanessa, about it being over to all people of walks of life. So I just wanted you to know that we put that in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But if you have any feedback, if you want to include it in the email, you can also include it there. A little bit about the statement, we just wanted to reach out to people to an opening statement. And then a little call to action for the EAC. And also for social media, what we plan to do is we're working on a small video clip of just a couple clips of the meetings that we already had. And just highlighting, so I got a little bit from everybody, from different presentations that we put on with conversations. So it's a 1-minute video, and we'll be sure to click that in the email when we're finished with that for recruitment. So you guys are gonna be up there. I just wanted you guys to know that we're gonna be promoting you on the council site.
I want the one with the fro in now. I'm sorry, man.
You want today on there? I'll see what part I can take apart.
I've been saying a lot of
Bad
good stuff
today, it's a
today.
bad day.
Yeah, but just to let you guys know, we are doing trying some different things when it comes to recruitment strategy. We're putting together a kit that we can use and just add to throughout the year. So if there's any other comments that you guys can think of today, we're still accepting comments until we start that process.
So, we've had some people who've been absent a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That are on there and they still have, 3 more years to go. What are we doing about that? Are they still in there?
So we sent out some cancellation letters.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Based
only
on
one
bylaws.
person, based on bylaws, and there's only one person that said they want to be included still, even though they missed many, many meetings. So we'll give that person till next year to see how that pans out for them. Maybe they had some hard shift this year. We
Sure.
wanna give them the opportunity to come back if they want to. But those other people that said they don't wanna continue, we definitely sent out a cancellation letter. Nyambi, when she was here, she handled that process, so.
One of the other things too was, I know for some people, it was a challenge around COVID and then having to meet in person.
Yeah.
And then being the only committee in all of the Met Council that had to. And then being the Equity Advisory Committee, you see people like, they're trying to kill y'all off, or so are they? I said, no, they're not trying to do that, but you know, this idea that no other committee was meeting in person except for this committee within the Met Council. Even staff was not even coming to work every day. So perception can be reality for a lot of people. We really have to be conscious about things like that. And we should have been able to go right to video conferencing, I think. And that is an option for us now going forward.
I don't think it's an option just yet, but we are examining those things within the new bylaws,
I
so.
think we probably need to do that because it's still a hostile kind of environment with a lot of things out there, and it'll probably not get any better. But that, you know, people don't mind taking risks, but you know, they measure it, and so we really need to fix that. That option should be available for people.
I agree.
And I think that's
I like the option of video chatting online. But I do like coming, I like being in person too, just me personally, Madam Chair. I do like coming in person and, you know, meeting everybody. For me to work from home for so long, then to come to a committee meeting where it's a lot of presence and a lot of people with personalities and being in the community sense is something that I do enjoy. So it is a nice, to be a part in person as well. But we do understand your concern, and we're definitely looking into that as well.
Madam Chair, I agree with that too. You know, I like being in person and meeting people and all of that. It was just an unusual time, though. The virus was scary.
Yeah.
It was a really scary proposition.
I agree. All right, so do we have anyone else that would like to comment on the EAC recruitment? We do want you guys to recommend people. So if you guys need anything specifically to recommend people, any information that you may need or any conversation that you may want to hold to get the word out, right wording, you can use this wording, but if you need something more simpler, we can help you put together something. Just let us know, but we definitely like for you guys to recommend a person or persons if you like to. All right.
I think this wording works.
Yeah.
You'll send us the email
Absolutely.
with this right in the email.
Yes.
And we can forward it and let you know when we feel safe enough. You know, I may just send it to somebody and copy you.
Right.
You know?
That's totally fine.
All right.
Yeah, my email is public knowledge, so it's okay.
And ask them, you know, to go online and apply, but then you'll know.
I love it. And now we're gonna move on, so you can go ahead.
All right, committee recognition led by OEEO staff.
We're leading everything today. So we wanted to just recognize, it is the end of the year, and I feel like we've grown a community here. We've been with you guys, me only a year in some, Lila 2 years in some. So we just, and of course our other staff that we have here to support in the background, we just wanted to come and just say thank you for everything that you do, and that we love having you guys here at the council, so. So this is just a list of EAC members here. So we just wanted to highlight you guys and say thank you to the individuals here on this list. These are some of the presentations that we worked on this year. So some of the things for long range planning, environmental protection, transportation services, and a host of other subject areas that we work with. But just a little bit more about the council. So as you can see, the council is very vast. And we do come from different perspectives and different areas within equity. So we just wanted to highlight and say thank you for, you know, just advising us on these subject areas. And then some of the highlight of presentation impacts made. You guys already brought up some of these presentations that, you said were really impactful. And just to quote, a diverse mix of voices leads to a better discussion, decisions, and outcomes for everyone. And I think here at the EAC, we really embody that when it comes to different voices and bringing your different perspectives to the table. So of course, we want to highlight those areas as well and say thank you for bringing your perspective to the table, no matter how hard it may seem for individuals and yourself at some times. So just some of the thank yous for bringing a wealth of experience and knowledge to enhance equity across the metropolitan area, for bringing diverse voices from different communities, dedicating time and recognizing dedication to hard work. We really, really appreciate that part the most, I would like to say, just because you guys don't have to be here. This is community work that you're doing, and we love that the people that do the work just because they love it. So we really appreciate that. Making a difference in equity initiatives across the council, that's another big one. Edward said earlier, I don't mean to give you a nickname, but he said some people may be scared to come to you guys, but that just shows how impactful you guys are, so, and also collaborating and working together for equity. That teamwork is the dream work, so we really appreciate that. Advocacy for equity and promoting social justice, and pushing boundaries and council equity and equal opportunity projects. That one too, so pushing the envelope and just letting people know that, you can do more. We love that.
Madam Chair, on that, and Tori, I appreciate that, because what that says to me in its totality, we were not just rubber stamping.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important that you kind of were able to pull those things out of there. Because a lot of times these can become those kind of committees where
Yes.
folks come, present, they rubber stamp, nobody has anything to say. And that's good. I think, Francisco wanted that, I remember when he reached out to me, he said, well, we just want a very active and engaged committee.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you need to be in there because you're overly active. ADHD guy. No. But no, I mean, when he was recruiting me to serve on the committee, he said, we want people that will come in and be a voice around these things. Study the information, come, with quantitative information, not just subjective stuff. And there are a lot of folks out there that, that I think would love to be engaged in this. And know that it matters. And I got a few people in mind for the at-large seats that I'm gonna talk to.
I'm excited. So we're gonna go to the next, thank you, Edward. So just some comments, we had a lot more, but just a couple ones, just for me. To our EAC members, you are a vital part of our community, working tirelessly to make sure everyone is treated fairly and has equal and equitable opportunities. Your advice and leadership has influenced change throughout the council and continues to reign high. Thank you for bringing new and exciting possibilities and perspectives for the, it's supposed to be to the table, but I said for the table. I like for the table, actually. And I'll just open it up to the staff in the back. That we have, since we have a lot of our staff from OEO here today and support. So if you guys want to open up and say anything, and then I'll say Shanti's comment at the end. Should I popcorn?
Yeah, I was gonna actually send over my comments to you, but I will just say them. I certainly appreciate the committee for all of the work that you do. Ed, we will never just rubber stamp, this committee will never just be a rubber stamp. I think that we, the work that you all do gives us an extra, I think, push to advocate internally. And that's incredibly valuable. I think the advice that you give has lasting impact. We talk a lot with our interns. I just had a conversation with our interns about how impactful the words are. Sometimes it feels like you aren't doing a lot, but the words that you all share do cause for a pause, and, reflection and further discussion. So thank you for the work that you do, and like Tori said, you don't have to be here on a random Tuesday night, so we certainly appreciate you all coming and being part of this work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to say staff is awesome too, though, because I know a lot go into preparing all these meetings internally. But I also really feel like, over the last 4 or 5 months, that our voice at this table is being carried by them internally. Because I can see paradigm shifts occurring inside of the Met Council. And it's related to conversations we've had here. And I know, since we don't have direct contact with people in there, that it's, they're like our advocates. They're taking that on, and that's, it's great to see the progress. And it'll just get better. I know it's just gonna get better.
And I would say I have seen the hard work, and thank you for the comments, by the way. I think that the committee appreciates hearing you reflect on the words used and how in fact they make a difference as you do your work throughout the course of your weeks and time here at the Metropolitan Council. Thank you for uplifting those words. I also have seen the hard work that our chairs have done, and must say, I know that at times it's tough managing this group, and I appreciate the dedication that both you and the council member have had to this work. So thank you very, very much. And I would just say I've seen the staff grow too, to appreciate the critical tension that is felt here, and to know that we as people in systems, also are people in community. So we feel it as a part of being in the community, and we have to hold it together here as policymakers or staff members to do the work of advancing. And so I want to appreciate what you have done by way of receiving this information and tailoring the presentations to be responsive, and also seeing the next step in the process with us. We have a lot of work to do structurally to make certain that we are the team that we and you can appreciate together, all of us as a team. And that is what's important. So thank you so much for sharing with us your reflections. They are helpful for us in knowing that we're a part here of the same team, and that we all know that, right? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then
Madam Chair, before she go into Asante, I just want to alert you that he is kissing up again in this statement here.
Oh.
I just had to get that on the record so he can get mad at me.
And yeah, I'm sorry, I already read him.
I'm sorry, I should have said that, but I hope Asante's watching this. Merry Christmas, Asante.
Well, since you guys already read it, I won't say much, but he did write a pretty statement for you guys, and
It was really
just
nice.
a direction. Even one of the things that he quoted would helping him connect with the University of Minnesota to conduct a disadvantaged business enterprise study that they did. That we did. So they did. But yeah, so you guys already read his comments, so I'll move on.
Well, the equity analysis is huge. You know, that's really huge on the procurement stuff. So
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm just so grateful for staff. I'm grateful for you guys, all your help and the emails and the phone calls, and just how you prepare and help us and encourage us. It's just so encouraging, and I just appreciate you guys so much. All the things that you do behind the scenes, and even preparing the people that are gonna come and speak, and just getting them ready and giving them a word of encouragement, but just to help us. And me personally, never having co-chair, Robert's Rule of Order, what? And dealing with you, I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, you've done awesome,
Thank you.
very much.
Yes. All right, and just to wrap up some things, so just partnering, just bringing it up that this is a partner venture that we're doing with the EAC. We are partners in this, and just a couple of things that I said earlier, just helping to continue working on 2024 when it comes to long range planning, environmental protection, transportation services, and other things that's involved within the council, such as community development, and of course, Ed brought up housing. So hopefully next year we can, maybe dive in a couple of those other subject areas that you guys have interest in, within more so long range planning that I heard. Because we hit a lot of the environmental protection, and transportation services for sure this year. So we're looking forward to 2024, and again, thank you. And we have a small, recognition, certificate. I don't know, certification is a certificate, that we want to give to you guys, and just hoping that, that you stay with us through 2024. And again, thank you from our office, for everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice presentation.
Yeah, very good.
It's the first time Tori's been out here. Look at her, look at her.
Background, y'all. I just wanted to relieve Lila because she does all of
Look
the
at
heavy
her.
lifting for us, so.
Just stepping
Thought I'd
out
give her a break
all
today.
big time. It's like,
You did an
boom.
amazing job.
She did a great job.
Right here. So it's pretty. If you guys want to give it back so Ashanti can sign, that'd be great. But if you want to keep it, you can. There you are.
Fine. That's lovely, thank you.
And we have one for everybody, so.
Yeah, I want to.
You can keep mine and
Okay.
get signed and give it to us.
Okay, so on the first, the January, the third Tuesday, I'll give it back after Ashanti.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully you can get it.
Madam Chair, on the housing thing,
I just want to show you if you didn't get a chance to see.
it does look really nice.
They are nice, thank you.
Right. And then that's all I had.
Nice.
No. And I'll give the floor back.
There's going to be legislation proposed for constitutional amendment to make housing a right. And this is a statewide coalition. Some 400 some organizations and faith institutions that are being mobilized to do it. With an emphasis on affordable home ownership. So somebody that made land here, I don't want us to take housing off the table because it was also a historic appropriation year last year where $1.5 billion was allocated for affordable housing. And that's the most ever in the history. And some 55,000 unit shortage in the state. But probably one of the saddest statistics in all of the housing stuff is that the African American community pay $80 million a month in rent, nearly $1 billion a year. That's because only 20% of our community own their home. And $1 billion worth of wealth that could be accumulated in our community is being lost because we can't access affordable homeownership opportunities. And that's sad, but we're all losing. I mean, when you think about 80% of the white community own their home, 20% of them are renters. But when you look at it as sheer population, they're spending the same amount, almost the same amount of money is being lost in wealth accumulation for that community as well. Then you go to Asian, Native communities. But so the Met Council, where arguably 65% of the African American community live within the metropolitan area, has to have some emphasis on affordable home ownership. So I hope that's part of the discussion and community development. Don't push back as hard as they did last year when we were asking them to come forward and talk to us about housing, fair housing, and things like that in the metropolitan area. Because it is really hurting. The last thing I'll say about that is when you don't have that stability for a family, the children and the families live a nomadic kind of existence. And if you are renting, you're likely to move at least 3 times within a year. And that child could be moving to 3 different school districts. And the curriculum within those school districts may not align with each other, which means that child fall behind and impacts the education. If they're moving, it may cause problems with employment. So that stability becomes hugely important, and it is not something that we can afford to not have on the table and be equally as important as the other things that we're working on from an equity standpoint. I would argue that it's probably more important, that there is a lot more stability there. So,
Thank you. Thank you for that. And when did you say, so that's gonna come forward next year?
well, I'm hoping that we can, make it a big part of our agenda next year on the Equity Advisory Committee, particularly the community development piece, where livable communities and other housing stuff, resources are channeled.
Okay.
A lot of that is slipping past our community. And unfortunately, this year, they didn't want to have conversations with us, basically. Didn't feel like we had the right to be asking questions about what was going on with community development. And so we kind of left it alone, because that was probably the biggest pushback of any of the divisions or areas that one was.
Well, hopefully next year.
Things have changed.
I think
They will
hear
change.
you.
Yes.
We got it on record.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements? Well, that concludes our agenda for tonight. Seeing no other comments, no further comments, do I have a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Second.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you, Madam
guys.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Guys. Early, but.